This is the XrmToolCast, the podcast about the ultimate set of tools for Microsoft Dynamics 365, with business applications MVPs Daryl Labar, Jonas Rapp, and Tanguy Touzard, the creator of the XrmToolBox. This episode is brought to you by Dynamics 365 User Group. D365 UG is the world's most influential user group community of Microsoft Dynamics 365 and CRM users and partners. Across the globe, members share a common goal of maximizing and advancing the performance of Microsoft Dynamics 365 and CRM so that individuals and companies can improve operations, overcome obstacles, and exceed goals. We thank D365 UG for sponsoring the first episode of the XrmToolCast.
Welcome to episode 1 of the XrmToolCast. You're here with myself, Daryl Labar, and I also have joining me Jonas Rapp and Tanguy Touzard. Did I pronounce your last name correct? I haven't met you in person, so I got to figure this out. Tanguy, help me out.
Yes,
how do you say it?
That's the appropriate pronunciation.
Okay,
you're
all
correct.
Right. Well, cool. So, welcome to the very first episode. On this podcast, we're going to revolve mostly around just tools on the XRM platform and mostly around the XrmToolBox. We'll throw a few other tools in there as they come up. And we'll probably be talking mostly with developers, kind of get the story behind the tools, how they're being used, maybe how they're being used incorrectly, and some of the better things that are happening in the future as well. So that's kind of our hope. Hopefully it's interesting for both developers and non-developers alike. And hopefully it's something that we continue doing in the future and get some positive feedback on. So I will go ahead and turn the reins over to Jonas. Jonas, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? And after that, Tanguy, you can go, and we'll just kind of say who we are and while we're talking on this. So Jonas, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you, Daryl. Well, I think it's really great to be on this XrmToolCast, to having started this. And this is, of course, an area where I have some passion. I think it's really cool that we have this platform by Tanguy that we can all develop on and make use of. So my own background to this is that, as most of us, I guess, started with you're working in your CRM projects and you find these tedious tasks, and one day you create a small gadget, console application or whatever, to do it for you in a bit more automated way. So I started doing that, and then when the time was right in 2014, I created the first tool that I published, which was the Fetch XML Builder, and have been basically going on and keeping it up since then.
Awesome. Tanguy, I think pretty much anyone in the world that's ever used the XrmToolBox kind of has an idea of who you are, but why don't you go ahead and give a little bit of background on yourself, and why don't you talk a little bit about how the XrmToolBox came to be? What was it? What was it like? What was the first instance of it? And kind of that birthing moment of that tool.
Okay, so for my background, the fun fact was I started my career at Microsoft as an intern at Microsoft France, and this is where I started to work with Dynamics CRM, or what was called these days Microsoft Business Solution Customer Relationship Management, which was quite a long name for.
Oh no, we've lost Tanguy. Our first technical difficulties of the show. We're not even 3 minutes in. Okay. All right. So maybe he'll join us. Maybe he won't. But I'll go ahead and talk about my kind of introduction to the toolbox. So I started using the toolbox. Actually, when I first got started doing CRM development, GitHub wasn't nearly as big of a thing as it is now, and I was primarily getting a lot of tools off of Codeplex, Microsoft's little online, specific online source control system. And I had found some of Tanguy's stuff out there. I was like, hey, this covers like connecting and managing connections and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, this is great. And so I created my first plugin for that, and that would have been the basically what is now the Attribute Manager. And it's been upgraded. Yeah, it started off as an option set converter and then became an Attribute Manager. So that's that's what I started as. And then I created another tool after that, and I realized, hey, there's lots of stuff here that I shouldn't have to be doing twice. And so I created a little plugin base class that I used between both tools and did a quick little blog about it. And I wasn't an MVP at all by the time, and I don't think anybody really knew who I was at all. So I just blogged about it and sent Tanguy a quick tweet. And he read my blog and commented back. It's like, hey, that's great. Can I just use that in the toolbox? I was like, yeah, sure. So that was my first involvement with the actual toolbox itself and actually interacting with Tanguy. He was like, hey, here's a plugin base. Let's go ahead and use it and extend it. So pretty much that plugin's changed a little bit since then, but I started off that initial plugin base. That was kind of my initial foray into helping on the XrmToolBox. So, hey, Tanguy, sounds like you're back. Why don't you go ahead and continue your story? So I heard that you started working at Microsoft, and then that's all I heard.
Yeah, so at Microsoft, I started with Dynamics CRM product that was just launched in France. So I pretty did all my career working with Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And the interesting fact that I started to write some tools in this period. It was a tool to import data. There was no tool to import data or nothing quite specific enough to import your specific files, except the embedded web import job, but that was not configurable enough. So at Microsoft, I was asked to create this first tool. So it was in 2004, I guess. And later in my job, the company I joined, I started to write tools just to ease my work, like I heard you say too. So I just didn't want to do the same tasks 2, 3, or 4 times. So I started to write some tools just to help me. I guess the first one was for CRM4. It was something like ISV config manager or attribute bulk updater or something like that. And it was really nice to create this tool and see it was really powerful, and it improved my productivity. And I just thought, okay, if it can improve my productivity, it can certainly help other people. And the difficult part was to convince my boss that it was useful to let this tool going outside the company. As you can imagine, the feeling was more about we will enforce competitors than help the community. But I was able to convince him to release these tools, and that's where the adventure just began with some individual tools, and later a meta tool. I will call it a meta tool because it was just gathering multiple tools together. It was called Solution Extender, but it was not so good tool. It was not really used by the community, or the feedback was not such positive. And then in December 2012, I had the idea about the XrmToolBox and the name, the concept of adding your own plugins, and that's where everything began for XrmToolBox.
Awesome. And we're hearing a little bit of your family in the background, which is awesome as well.
Sorry for that.
It's a good reminder to all those that are using these tools that we aren't the stereotypical developers that are living as bachelors and not showering regularly. We have wives, we have kids, we have all this kind of stuff, and we're just happy to be able to contribute to the community. So so that's awesome to be hearing that, and awesome to be just getting that part into our lives as well.
Yeah, and I think it also gives a pretty good picture of when we do these things. It is at home with our kids running around our legs, and that's when you have the passion to do this. And, well, that's how it ends up.
Maybe we should make a plugin for Visual Studio that records what's going on while you're typing things in. That way you can replay it the next time you're looking at it. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was trying to drown this out. So, Tanguy, you brought up an interesting point. So if this has started back like 2004, 2005 timeframe, trying to convince somebody to do stuff in open source, that was a different world back then. That wasn't something that was very common. There wasn't really, a lot of companies didn't see any benefit in doing that. What was it? How did you convince your boss to allow you to spend time doing that and to push it out there?
It was just to make him understand that he won't win money on the tool by keeping it for just the company. That just improving productivity for other people don't make them better competitors in terms of what we can achieve, or our experience, our skills. It just make it faster. So that was one of the point that make my boss understand that it was not such a threat to release some tools to the community.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I even think of all the open source stuff I have for plugin bases and things like that for just normal plugin development. Someone's like, "Hey, can how do I use it?" I was like, "Just grab it and use it. I don't care." And he's like, "Well, it's your stuff." I was like, honestly, if everyone used it and I just walked into every job and it was already being used, I would be the happiest person alive because I wouldn't have to deal with all the normal stuff that I see that's really bad. So yeah, being able to be open source and having people use it is a tremendous blessing along those lines. So.
And it also helps being open source. You are not on your own world where you cannot see the main issues or even the satellite issues in your plugins or in your code. You have a lot of people that use it, so they can bring you some feedback, positive or negative, but that will in the end improve the tool or the plugin.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that you get sort of the other people's perspective on it and finding the bugs you don't find, but when you also get pull requests with fixes to bugs or with new improvements to the tools, I think that's just awesome when you see that kind of involvement from people that you actually are helping and they're helping you back.
Yeah, so my problem with that is I've maybe gotten 5 pull requests out of the last 8 years worth of open source stuff that I've been doing. So either what I have works perfectly, which it probably doesn't, or maybe what I have is too complicated for people to start touching. I don't know. I don't know where that lies. But yes, every time that happens, I'd much rather have someone give me a pull request and someone give me a $10 thank you PayPal donation. Actually,
yeah,
so, yeah.
Absolutely.
So Jonas, when did you first start using the XrmToolBox, and when did you decide to start making plugins for it?
I think it was before I started using XrmToolBox before XrmToolBox, meaning that we found, of course, the sitemap editor, we found the ISV config tool, and so on. So we knew about this French guy who did stuff for free that we took advantage of, and we didn't really understand why. But then when we got into this world of the common toolbox and realized, okay, we can actually contribute here as well. Then. But it was like, I'm not going to be religious on you, but it was somewhat of a revelation there to see that, okay, you can actually do stuff that we use internally and you contribute. And, well, as Tanguy says here, there's really nothing in it for my boss. But on the other hand, there's nothing to lose either. So what became in it for the boss is, my name is seen and my company's name is seen, and I know after a couple of years in this business doing tools, we have hired people because they heard that, wow, that this guy with the XrmToolBox tools work here. So that must be an awesome company. So, okay, in the end, there was something good for my boss as well in this.
Yeah, and there's very little cost to them either, right? It's like, hey, it's I'm doing a lot of this in my own time. It's stuff we have to do anyways, and so we get this benefit of just being looked at as knowledge leaders.
Absolutely. And as you said, there's little time invested. And I think in many cases, the time invested in developing a tool is time that you would have spent anyway to develop that either internal tool or time spent by not having a tool at all.
Yeah. And I think we're all fall in this category. I always refer to myself as a lazy developer. If I have to do something twice, that's once too many. So if I can automate it, if I can just do it over again, I think that's where Tanguy really...
Absolutely. That's the driver for all this.
Yeah. So Tanguy, when did you feel like the XrmToolBox took off? When did you feel like, wow, like people were like, over the world are doing that? Once you decide you were famous?
I can't really tell, but as soon as issues were raised on GitHub or Complex, when it was on Complex, but the fact that many people asked for feature requests or improvements or bug fixes, this metrics show me that people are using XrmToolBox, and I shamelessly stole some code from Jonas to have some statistics of XrmToolBox usage on statcounter.com websites, I think. And I also shamelessly stole some code for including application insight for the next version of XrmToolBox. So we should be able to see more how XrmToolBox is used, and it will even allow the plugin developer to see how their plugins are used too, because each plugin opening should be recorded in Application Insight, and I have quite a pretty Power BI dashboard that will be published on the XrmToolBox.com website, so everyone will be able to check plugins usage and XrmToolBox usage.
Yeah. And I think, when I started developing these parts of the code that started logging just to see how the tools were used, of course, there's one side to it, I want to see how many is using my tool, and then I feel good about it. But it's also to see, okay, how are they using it? Because if you add this kind of auditing to your individual tools, then you can say, okay, let me see how many clicks this button, how many clicks that button, and which order do they do things. And to make the tools, by analyzing this, you can make them even more intuitive to make sure that people find the right places to click, and basically. And I think I can spend a bit too much time looking at my Power BI reports and analyzing to see how people are actually using this stuff.
Yeah, you can get sucked in that rabbit hole pretty quickly. Like, oh, who's doing this? Or who's doing that? And yeah, you can get kind of excited about it because it's it's your kind of stuff. But yeah, it's being able to affect how many people is a really unique ability that we have now. That 50 years ago, he didn't have that. Didn't have it all.
And Jonas, you're looking too much to the rating of your tools too.
Yeah, I'm looking a bit too much at that. But I think that's really fun, because then there's an act of a user to actually go in and do the rating, and possibly even write a comment to that. So I think that's really an evidence that, wow, people really care out there. And then sometimes you can get a bit annoyed when someone complains about something and you realize it's just they don't know how to use it correctly, or they haven't read the docs.
Yeah.
But it's awesome to have these ratings as well.
Yeah. I will say that I got one rating that was like a 0 rating on a plugin, and I was like, what? You didn't give me any information. Why does it suck? Tell me why. I need to know why. And I was kind of frustrated at that. It's like, fine, if you don't like it, great, but I need to know why.
Give me his email.
That's why it's not mandatory to put a description when the rating is lower than 3, just to be sure someone writes the comments.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Tanguy, I think I have an answer for this, but when did you start feeling lots of developers helping to support you, or helping to support the Toolbox community itself? When did that take off?
I guess it's took off with you guys. As you mentioned, you helped to improve the XrmToolBox extensibility with your Bass class, and also Jonas created a lot of tools. Jonas, and it was Sinteros. I don't know. I didn't know exactly who was behind the tools at this time. But I guess you two guys started to write tools, and as it was really valuable tools, other developers seen that it could be useful to add their own tools.
I think a major milestone must be the plugin store, when it was actually possible to find new tools within the XrmToolBox, and anyone could publish them there. Then, of course, there was a downside to anyone being able to publish anything, but I think we've handled that, or you've handled that by now. But that's a real milestone in the evolution of XrmToolBox. Instead of having to download DLLs and putting them in a folder somewhere and so on.
That was going to be my turning point, because if you think of, and it wasn't too long ago that I would post a DLL up on GitHub, and all right, you have to go download this, and you have to go download the XrmToolBox, and you have to put it in the right directory, and all this manual stuff, which is okay for developers, but for end users to do that, that's a lot to ask for them to A, do it, and B, to know how to do it and know where to get these tools from. So yeah, when we opened up the the plugin store, that was incredible. And I say we, and I don't think I did anything on that actually, but yeah, that was incredible growth. So hats off to Tanguy and for getting that going there. I remember also in the early days, this is kind of a fun fact, feel free to think of some others as I'm talking here, but I remember in the early day doing documentation, since I was the only native English speaker, I would try to go through and fix some documentation for Tanguy, and I remember one time I corrected him, it's this way, and then I didn't realize I had it completely wrong, and I was like, no, it's not that way at all, not my bad, so yeah, so that's an area that if people are wanting to help and aren't developers, you can always do documentation. I don't know about your plugins. My own plugins, I do very bad on the documentation side of the fence.
I mean, we're developers, aren't we?
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
That's it. So.
Yeah, and I think in the early days when you had to manually download the DLLs and so on, when we had them on Codeplex and later moved to GitHub, but there was still these counters in there. You want to know how many downloads do you have. So when I developed my small web page, it was not even a website, it was just a page. Then I added some JavaScript magic to look at the feed from GitHub and Codeplex and aggregating all the numbers there to see which versions were downloaded. And I think when they hit 300 downloads, I got all crazy, goes, wow, that's so much. Now it doesn't feel that much anymore, but those were the early days.
The early days. Here's an interesting question for you, Tanguy. We all find it interesting. What's in the toolbox has been in use for a long time now. There's got to be a lot of technical debt in there that maybe is like the worst thing that you wish you wouldn't have done. That's kind of stuck in there. Like, what's probably the worst part of the legacy debt that you have for the XrmToolBox in your opinion?
That's a good question, but it's a long time I didn't look at all the code of XrmToolBox. There was a pretty much depth in the old plugin stores before I switched it to the Dynamics portals. So now that it's down, it's not so bad, but I'm quite sure I have too much lines of code in the main application, the main form, and stuff could certainly be separated in different business classes. So it's always the same when you start writing code, or when you started to write the code a long time ago. You just want to write your code and make it work. And after you look for a better architecture, and that's where you see all your technical debt. So maybe a better organization of classes and so this kind of stuff. But I'm not able to name a particular part of XrmToolBox, but maybe the main form that is just maybe 1,000 or 2,000 lines of code, something like that.
So if we had Marius on here, CRM Viking, I'm sure he'd have a definite answer for that. Jonas, you want to guess what his answer would be?
No, I wouldn't dare to guess that, but I'm sure he would find quite a few worst cases.
For him, I think it's just web forms, because for Windows forms, because he never grew up with that stuff. So having to learn that now is kind of a sad thing for him to have to learn.
Yeah, and for us oldies, we kind of like it. Let me get back into this gray canvas form where I can put my controls on and I know what's happening.
Yeah, something oddly comforting about opening up a Win form and being able to just drag and drop things on there and not having to to worry about things that we have to with web apps and stuff. So that's just me. So where's the XrmToolBox going? What's the next big thing that we're looking to do, or Tanguy, that you're looking to do with it? That as much as we love having you on the show and love talking to you, we are actually taking away from your time doing this. So you're probably not going to be a regular on the show, because if you were, everyone would hate us, because that's taking time away from the core XrmToolBox development. But you're here now. Give us your answer.
Yeah. So what I really would like to implement and to bring to people's will be to ease the connection. I'm pretty satisfied about the how we connect to organization today, but there is some specific scenario that seems really complicated for user to connect, particularly when you have an online organization with MFA, with your Office 365 federated with your on-premise Active Directory. This kind of scenario that I even cannot test myself seems to be complicated to work with. So I would like to use the SDK default login control, what we can see in plugin registration or configuration manager, so that all the connectivity is handled by a Microsoft assembly and not my own code. But it's quite complicated, because I really would like to implement this with the possibility to save your connection and reuse it later. And I started to implement that, and it's quite not easy to get the connection, store it, save it, and reuse it. So we talked about it on some private channel, but I would like just to put a button that say connect using SDK login control, and so you will be able to connect to any kind of deployment, whatever it is. Or if it doesn't work, it will be Microsoft fault and not my fault, because I get so much issues and bitter about I'm not able to connect. Here is my environment and my deployment, but I don't have the same deployment, and I cannot test and try to debug it and fix it. So using a Microsoft control should help to connect, but maybe there won't be the save and restore and reuse part of the connection we have today.
Yeah, so that's the real big thing that if we could figure out how to save those settings, you'd make that switch in a heartbeat, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would like to have this, but it's quite complicated for me right now. I'm not a super developer like you are.
How did I earn the super developer title?
Just because you see all the code problems and you can fix it, and you know a lot of things about developing. That's a fun fact too, that every people I meet that understand I'm the XrmToolBox creator are just considering me as a master developer or the superstar of development, which I am not. Clearly, I've met a much better developer than I am, and so it's really funny to see that people think you are just a superstar in coding, and that's really not the case.
I have to say there, I think this is also applies to the reaction you get when people hear you're an MVP. Oh, yeah. You must know everything about Dynamics.
Yes.
And that's the assumption, and not just that, okay, I happen to do this one thing that got really popular, so that's why I'm an MVP. It could put you in some interesting situations now and then.
Yeah, I always have to call back to people. It's like, my knowledge is very, very narrow, very, very tall silos. They may be very deep, but they're very narrow. And I've never done X, Y, Z. I've never done any portal work. I've never done any of this work. I haven't done any of that work. And yeah, so...
I try to explain that my knowledge is very narrow and very shallow.
Oh, you're going to add shallow to it. Okay,
yeah.
Well, all right. So apparently Jonas is way more humble than I am. So.
Yeah, it's the Swedish way.
All right. Well, guys, I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope our listeners enjoyed it as well. We'd love to hear your feedback, and love to hear any suggestions you have for future episodes. Right now, our current plan is to go through and do episodes revolving around particular plugins, how to get started on a plugin, and maybe best practices for using the XrmToolBox and stuff like that. So we'll see how this develops, and we'll see what other tools we'll throw in here. I'm sure we'll cover at least one episode of probably the Latimer's REST editor builder and a couple other tools that aren't specific for the XrmToolBox. So anything you guys want to add before we sign off?
Oh, this was fun. I'm looking forward to doing the next show.
Yeah, it was really, really nice. Thank you very much, Daryl.
Well, thank you, Tanguy, for making time, and thank you to your wife for handling the kids for a little bit. And we don't want to take any more of your time, so the world hates us, and that you can continue doing what you're working on. So have a good one, and we'll look to talk to you all soon, and hope to have our next episode out soon as well.
This has been the XrmToolCast from XRM Audio, the podcast about the ultimate set of tools for Microsoft Dynamics 365 with business applications MVPs Daryl Labar, Jonas Rapp, and Tanguy Touzard, the creator of the XrmToolBox. If you have any feedback or questions for the team on the XrmToolCast, you can email them to us at voice@crm.audio. You can subscribe to the XRM Audio network of podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, or any place else that podcasts are offered. We're even on YouTube. This is a production of Dynamic Podcast LLC.